Gauteng Department of Education has suspended a teacher following a confrontation with a grandparent. Now, the Ennerdale community says it feels betrayed by provincial government. It says there's no sense of urgency or concern for the victim. Joining me for more on this is community leader Ashley Sauls. Ashley, thank you so much for joining us. Of course, just off the top of this interview, our viewers would know you, of course, lately as the MMC for Health and Social Development, but you've decided to come here as a community leader or somebody speaking on behalf of the community of Ennerdale. Tell us why you felt moved to do so.
Yes, and thank you very much, Ms. Sal, and evening to your viewers. I'm also the provincial leader for the Patriotic Alliance in Gauteng, and obviously we are passionate about it because we have a constituency within the Ennerdale community, predominantly coloured community, and because of what we saw on that video and the response of the Gauteng Government of Education, there's no sense of urgency. It seems to me like what the MEC wants to do, what the Gauteng Education Department wants to do, is to focus more on the reason for justification for what the teacher has done. And so there's no focus on what the learner and what the grandmother has actually gone through. So there's no emphasis on that, and we're asking why. Why is it that there's no focus on the fact that the teacher was actually racist? Now, the community in Ennerdale is very clear that it doesn't mean that because you're black you're racist. It doesn't mean because you're white you're racist. But in this instance, the individual was clearly racist. And why is the Gauteng government of the Gauteng Department of Education tiptoeing around this issue of racism? There needs to be decisiveness, and currently there is not. And no one is considering the fact that we're talking about the fact that the teacher has gone through some bereavement. That's what the MEC is saying, as if to say that's a justification for what has happened. But nobody's talking about the fact that the grandmother and the learner, the grandmother lost her granddaughter in an horrific accident. The learner has lost her sister, her biological sister, in a horrific accident. So here's both people within that video has suffered loss. The one is racist, the one swears very badly, the one calls the other trash, the other, who's also grieving, does not swear once in that video. Is not rude once in that video. But what is being put forward to the nation? Please be sympathetic for a clear racist act. Now I'm asking, is this because for once in that video is the Department of Education disappointed that the normal narrative that colored people are unruly, colored people are violent, is the department disappointed that that's not seen in that video? And therefore, the relaxed attitude towards a clear act of racism. So now the community is saying, let us start seeing consistency in decisive action. That teacher has been racist. That teacher needs to be fired. That teacher cannot go back to school or teach anywhere in this country. There needs to be decisive action taken, and currently that's not what is shown. I'll even take it further myself.
Before you do that, if I could just come in here just to bring people up to speed. This obviously is an incident that's really got tongues wagging, not just in Ennerdale, but in communities across South Africa as well. And this is the nature of the world that we live in, where social media is just so powerful in getting stories out there. In this specific incident, the teacher, who is black, called the grandmother, who is coloured, trash, and stated that she does not like coloureds. The Gauteng Education MEC Panyaza Lesufi later visited the school. He, according to reports, expressed disappointment that it had taken more than a month, apparently, for it to be brought to the attention of the department or the school or the school leadership, that there had been a breakdown in the relationship between the teacher and the pupil, and that is why the grandmother felt moved to go to the teacher to find out what is going on. Do we know any more about that situation? Because I think many people would be able to relate to that. This wouldn't be the first time that there's a breakdown in a relationship between a teacher and a pupil. I'm sure it happens all the time, but there are supposed to be structures and processes in place to deal with that kind of thing. And it doesn't seem as if that was the case in this situation. Then what follows that is that the teacher was moved to a district office and served with the necessary documents, etc., etc., etc. And that seems to be the crux of the problem that you and the community has, that this seemed to be, there seemed to be some pussyfooting around it, and that the teacher was given a soft place to land, the documents were given to them, and that they believe that there wasn't urgency, that there wasn't a harsher decision taken against the teacher in a quicker, more urgent manner. What would the community have liked to see? Is it the urgency with which the department took action, or the school took action? Or is it the tone and the narrative and the vocabulary used by the Department of Education in dealing with this matter?
What we would have expected is clear decisiveness on the fact that this is clearly a racist teacher.
So you're unhappy that the phrasing wasn't used in addressing this matter in a statement or in interviews?
No, in the fact that there's clear bias, that there's no, we're not addressing the issue directly, and furthermore, the teacher seems to be defended rather than addressed. If you look at the video, number one, that video was not taken by a third party. The video was taken by the teacher herself. If you look into the video, then you see the teacher without her shoes, her legs on a chair, a soft chair, and the kids standing on desks. And then you ask yourself, during learning and teaching time, the teacher is supposed to be teaching. She's sitting relaxed with her legs on the chair, and the children are standing on the desk, so she's not teaching. And then it also came out that the teacher did not allow the learner into the class for 1 full month. I want to remind our viewers that if we want to bring on the issue that the MEC is doing and that the Gauteng department is doing in defense of the teacher, to say that she's going through grief, I want to remind our viewers, the grandmother's going through grief, the learner is going through grief, but despite that, the grandmother has not swore once. The grandmother has not fed the usual narrative of colored people. And I think that's what disappoints the department, because they cannot find anything wrong with what the grandparent and what the learner has done. But the teacher, on the other hand, for 1 month has not allowed a learner into the class who has a right to education. The teacher, the MEC himself has said that this, they have found, is not an isolated incident. In other words, the teacher herself has done this before. Now, why is there such a relaxed posture towards such a gross act of misconduct? Is it because this time around it is a colored child?
And what have we heard from the school community? Have we heard from, has the community been able to engage with the leadership of the school? Because it does also seem that this a lack of relationship or breakdown of relationship between the teacher and the pupil, and if you say there have been other incidents in the past, that seemed to take place under the watch of the school leadership before the Department of Education got involved.
The teacher sounds so confident when she takes that video. She says, you can do nothing. It seems to me like this is the posture, to see that the teacher feels that she's protected, and maybe that is what is happening at the school, even with the school leadership, that this teacher feels she can do whatever she wants because she is protected. And if we consider that as an assumption, then that assumption seems to be true, because how the MEC and how the other leadership is treating this whole matter seems to be like this teacher does feel that she's protected. She's removed, she's taken to district, the letter has not been delivered for 2 days. I mean, she's treated with VIP treatment. There's nothing that is decisively done with this teacher that has actually been racist, and nothing is done in terms of supporting the family. This is a human rights violation. Why are we not taking it as serious? But we want to be clear that, you see, the community is peaceful. It's a peace-loving community. The community is not racist. Therefore, that teacher was not physically attacked. The community is saying, let all the processes take place, but let it be done with urgency, so that a clear message is sent. But don't take advantage of the fact that this community is saying, we are willing to ensure that we get the right thing done. It's not always going to be the case, because now the community is getting frustrated because we are not seeing the same consistency, the same decisive action taken against racist acts such as this.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. We will have the education department on a little later. We're supposed to be speaking to them about something else, but we will ask them about this. And just to get our ducks in a row, the community wants the processes to follow its course, but you also want a spade to be called a spade.
Yes, ma'am.
You want it to be called a racist incident and to be dealt as such.
Decisively so.
Okay.
Fire the teacher, and that teacher cannot teach anywhere in South Africa because she's racist.
Okay, we're going to leave it there. Thank you so much. Community leader from Enedale, Ashley Sauls, joining us in studio there. Thank you for your time.